Let me tell you something strange about the child who was never protected. We live in a world that says childhood is innocent, soft, safe, wrapped in arms that intervene when danger comes too close. Yet some children grow up learning something entirely different. They learn that the world does not bend toward them. They learn that no one is coming. And here's the question that always lingers. What happens to a nervous system that had to become its own guardian? It's easy to assume the story is simple. They grew up too fast. They became independent. They're just mature for their age. But that's not the full picture. Beneath the surface, there's an entire psychology at play. A quiet architecture of hypervigilance. A body that learned to scan every room. A heart that mistook self-reliance for safety. See, for some people, strength wasn't a personality trait. It was a survival strategy. It's not that they didn't need protection. It's that needing it felt dangerous. And this isn't about blaming parents or rewriting history. It's about understanding what grows in a child who had to become the adult in the room. You've seen them before. The child who doesn't cry when they fall. The one who comforts others instead. The one who says, "I'm fine," before anyone even asks. They read the room like weather patterns. They sense tension before words are spoken. They anticipate disappointment before it arrives. From the outside, it looks like emotional intelligence, and sometimes it is. But watch closely. Notice how they rarely ask for help, how they apologize for taking space, how they handle their own pain privately, efficiently, almost invisibly. Psychologists sometimes call this parentification, sometimes hyperindependence, sometimes developmental adaptation to chronic stress. But what it often feels like is this: a child learning that vulnerability does not guarantee safety. So they adopt, they become agreeable, capable, low maintenance. They don't demand protection, they provide it to themselves and sometimes to everyone else. It's not about being stronger than other children, it's about being exposed earlier. When protection is inconsistent, the nervous system becomes its own shield. Hypervigilance becomes wisdom. Emotional suppression becomes control. Self-reliance becomes identity. It's not dysfunction, it's intelligence under pressure. For some, the shift happens quietly. Maybe there was a moment, a door slammed too hard, an argument that stretched too long, a look on a caregiver's face that said, "I can't handle this." And something inside the child recalibrates. They stop reaching outward, they turn inward instead. Because reaching outward without being met is a particular kind of ache. People see the capable adult and assume stability. They see composure and assume security. But composure can be a rehearsal. Stability can be self-constructed. Beneath that calm exterior is often a child who never experienced secure attachment, a deep embodied knowing that someone stronger will step in when needed. Instead, they developed adaptive autonomy, an internal locus of control formed too early. Autonomy is beautiful when chosen, but when it's forced, it carries a different weight. We praise independence in our culture. We admire the self-made. We romanticize resilience, but we rarely ask what it cost to build it. In a world that rewards competence, the child who was never protected often excels. They anticipate needs before they're voiced. They solve problems before they escalate. They rarely become burdens. And that's precisely the trap. Because when you are praised for not needing, you learn not to need. And when you learn not to need, intimacy becomes complicated. Because intimacy requires surrender. It requires trusting someone else to hold what you once held alone. When was the last time you let someone truly see you struggling? Not the polished version, not the "I've got this," but the raw, uncertain, unguarded moment. What did that feel like?
The child who was never protected often becomes the adult who protects everyone. They are dependable, grounded, the calm in the chaos. But sometimes that steadiness is fueled by fear. Fear that if they fall apart, no one will catch them. Fear that if they ask too much, they will be too much. Hyper-independence can look like empowerment, and sometimes it truly is. But other times it's a nervous system that never learned to relax. They handle breakups alone. They process grief privately. They celebrate achievements quietly. It's not that they don't want connection. It's that their body still whispers, "Handle it yourself." Over time, this creates a subtle loneliness, not always external. There may be friends, partners, colleagues, but internally there can be a sense of standing guard, always alert, always prepared. Hyper-independence isn't a personality flaw, it's a survival pattern wired through repetition. And yet, patterns shaped by experience can be reshaped by new ones. Safety, when consistent, can teach the body something new. Sometimes the adult who was never protected is misunderstood. They may seem distant, hard to read, too self-sufficient. But their independence isn't rejection, it's protection. Maybe healing isn't about becoming dependent, it's about allowing interdependence. The moment when someone who has always held themselves together lets their shoulders drop, lets someone else carry the weight, even briefly. Because in the end, being strong doesn't mean never needing shelter. It means learning that shelter can exist. And maybe the deepest healing for the child who is never protected is not becoming harder, not becoming untouchable, but discovering slowly that protection can be received, that strength can coexist with softness, that being independent doesn't mean being alone, because we were never meant to raise ourselves, we were meant to be held.